Blast Live. We're talking about what you're talking about.
Get real.
You all ready for this? Dun 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 dun.
No.
Nope.
Y'all, just
This
stop.
is
a sham.
Welcome to DBL. It's Tuesday, December 14th. I'm Tori. I'm not Jeff. I know I look like it. I'm here with Erica and Al. Kim Kardashian is doubling down on her divorce from Kanye West. So in court documents filed on Friday, Kim's lawyer said the marriage has broken down and is no longer viable. That's a harsh word, isn't it?
It's real.
It's real. Kim also has no desire to reconcile with Kanye and says there's no possibility of saving the marriage through counseling or other means. Kim also asked the court to become legally single. I think an important thing we didn't add here is she wants to drop the West.
Yeah, she has to completely absolve herself of that past marriage and to kind of not be associated with his legacy or whatever he's going to do in the future. Erica, so what do you think? Because I think sometimes when you start talking about divorce, and I mean, you and I have both been through it, sometimes that's the exact language you need to use. This is not going to go
almost
any
legal,
further.
right?
Right, right. You know, there's a famous saying, when a woman's fed up, it's too late to talk about it. It always baffles me. And I have a lot of guy friends, and I've experienced a lot of things. You know, my mom says you live long enough, you're going to see a lot of things. People really believe that if there's enough love in a relationship at any point, then there's always a path to reconciliation. I just want to be very clear, there's not. There's not. I think that there is a time where someone is willing to fight and give it their all. And then there's a time where you hit this fatal flaw portion of the program. And once you've hit that fatal flaw portion, there's no going back. So if there's someone that you really love and you feel like you cannot live without them being in your life, you might really want to audit how you treat them at all steps, because you hit that point, there is nothing that's going to bring them back.
I learned from both of you, from your life experiences, I just want to share this, that like there's no shame in realizing a relationship has ended. Like, I know I don't mean like marriages and things, but even marriages, like when things have come to an end, don't hold on just because you need to have a marriage.
It's a
very
very strange thing that we do as human beings.
Yeah.
We just look at everything is like, okay, I met Tori and Erica, so for life.
Right.
It's like, no, hey, sometimes you just had that one girl that was next door that you hung out with you guys had a great time. You guys, you know, summer when you guys were 15 and you never saw her again. But that was a relationship for a summer, and it was beautiful. Everything doesn't have to, like, you got to look her up on Facebook when you're 56 and be like, remember 1999? Like, you don't have to do that.
Because there's this idea, there's this false sense of loyalty. We will add loyalty to reminisce about the past more than we'll be loyal to ourselves. It's like people will really say things and talk smack about people like, oh, well, they just moved on with their life. Oh, I'm sorry. I respected myself more than I respected you and whatever you thought you were going to do to me.
Right.
Nah, dog. Nah.
Yeah.
Good. I really appreciate that lesson from you both. All right, Billie Eilish,
awesome.
Cool, is opening up about her sex life. So she went to Howard Stern. I love the way he interviews. Billie said she started watching adult films when she was only 11. She now finds pornography, quote, a disgrace. She added that when she started having sex, she didn't say no to things because she thought that was what she was supposed to be attracted to. She also said the films often distort how women's bodies are supposed to look. I have a strong reaction to this. I'm very pro adult films. And I don't mean that in a very weird way. I mean that in a very freedom of expression, pro-sex positivity way.
Good, yeah.
I don't feel the need to, it never changed my look. It never changed my way of saying no. Maybe I'm being naive. 11's pretty young. I find pornography really helpful to a lot of people, and it's a really, in some ways, very safe industry for what they do. I know a lot of people you're yelling at me. No, that's not true if you read the details.
I appreciate your courage in saying that, because one thing, it's weird, our American culture, we kind of chose violence over sex.
Yes.
Like, we'll show the Terminator at 4 in the afternoon, people's heads getting blown off and tanks exploding, no one blinks. But if you show something where somebody's got a really short skirt on, you're going to get 10 emails.
Right.
So it's a weird thing how we view sex, and because of that, especially with women, you're not going to learn how you like to be touched and what you like and what you do not like, and you'll also be shamed for that. So a lot of times pornography steps in and does show people like, hey, I might be into that, or I'm definitely not into that, and I think it does play a part. So I don't know if I completely agree with what she's saying, but I can understand that being exposed to it too early could be damaging.
I think we're having two different conversations here. As adults, I 100% agree with both of what you said. We're talking about an 11-year-old being exposed to pornography. Who allowed that to happen,
right,
or who facilitated that?
Right, sure.
Because at this point, we're talking about a predatory situation. An 11-year-old does not have the development to understand what they are watching. An 11-year-old should not be watching. It's called adult films for a reason.
Right.
So to me, this sounds more like a child who was exposed to sex in the most expressive ways far too early and beyond her comprehension. That's something that scars you. When you are sexualized early, and if you're watching adult films or you have been in a situation of exploitation, that carries with you for quite some time. It carries with you for the duration of your life. That's what therapy at this point is for, not trying to figure out why you feel this way about sex based on adult films. It's why you feel this way about sex because you were exposed to adult films at 11 years old.
Well, what you're saying
this is a major problem.
Just as you're speaking, what you're saying tracks, because remember, early in her career, she wore gigantic clothing because of her body dysmorphia, which probably stemmed from seeing pornography at 11 years old.
But I don't want to conflate, and you make a good point, I don't want to conflate her seeing too early pornography as pornography is distorting sex.
Right.
That's fair.
Okay,
that's fair.
Okay, but let me take what you're saying and twist it around.
Yeah.
I don't want to have this conversation about pornography being good or bad with the idea of an 11-year-old girl watching it. I don't even want to have that conversation, because that's the reason why people are really, really cool with having children around every little thing. That's not cool. Like, we need to protect children. There's a reason why there's an age limit to certain things.
Yes.
Having a child overtly sexualized at 11 years old is not a conversation that should be conflated in any way with the health or not health of adults watching adult film, period.
And agreed. And I can also say it is some of it is very unrealistic, right? And some of it can be like a little bit filtered in that way. But
I know we got to move on, but are we naive to think that 10 and 11 and 12-year-olds aren't going to have access to this? 10 and 11-year-olds had access to Playboy magazines when I was growing up, pre-internet. So I mean, every kid at middle school has a phone now. How easy is
it to get to it?
So, I mean, it's a scary, as a parent of three, it's terrifying.
I feel very uncomfortable with this conversation, conflating the two.
We're not conflating it at all. I'm just saying when you're, first of all, somebody that taught middle school for 5 years, I know what's going on, and it scares the hell out of me, Erica. I have a daughter that age, a son that age. So it's very scary, and the idea of being able to protect your kids, as a parent, being honest, it feels impossible.
Yeah.
So like we're not conflating. I'm just scared, and I see where this is coming from, and I think you're right. I think we will see the spillover of this with people's adulthood as we go further.
Interesting. All right. Well, Hoda Kotb is talking about surviving 10 days without her smartphone. On the Today Show, Hoda says she gave up her phone while away on a retreat. Take a look.
After going almost 10 days without it, it was so funny because at the end, I walked out into the world, and what I noticed was everybody was hunched over a phone, and no judgment, because me too, right? And I was looking around, and I asked myself like the simplest question, because I was thinking, what will I do? And I said, was I happier with it or happier without it? And I was happier without it.
This is so what I need. My back started to hurt, my postures changed, I just scroll.
I don't like this.
Wait, what?
I don't like people taking shots at phones. Do you know how much they've changed our life? Does anybody ever talk about the fact that no one's ever been lost since we've had phones? You remember being lost in 1999?
No one's been lost.
Erica. Do you remember what directions were like from your homegirl at 11:30? Come down the block. It's a red car. It's next to the driveway where Dad's house used to be. everybody was lost all the time. We didn't know how to do it. You used to have to go inside the bank like an animal. Now you can do everything online. It's the best.
But
I love being hunched over and being it's so convenient. Oh, I took care of my life in 4 minutes.
Okay, but what about this? We're losing any type of real social connections. You don't care about social connections, apparently.
What's a social connection?
A friendship, Al.
Yeah, you can make friends online.
Oh, wow.
I've got 5,000 on Facebook.
Oh,
They're my
wow.
besties.
They're not your real friends, buddy.
Ask them.
I don't have an issue either way, but I do feel like it's very cathartic when I'm in a situation and I haven't had my phone.
Yes.
Like if I'm on vacation, we actually put our phones away type thing.
Love that.
Like, and we'll make an agreement. Like, okay, from this day to this day, let's just leave the phones in the hotel.
Wow.
That's amazing. But then people get so offended. Like people get really offended if you don't respond. That's why at this point I just continue not to respond to people just to train them. That I'm not like, don't expect a response right away because I'm not going to do it.
It's on my time. That's right. Will all of Al's friends write in to see if they're real friends?
All 5,000.
All right. Coming up on DBL, please. Dermot Mulroney stopped by DBL. He took us behind the scenes of the show Hannah, which I love. But first, Brooke Shields bears all in her new interview why she claims her sex life continues to evolve at 56.
Closed captioning provided by
Yeah, I think the Billie Eilish story, and I understand Howard Stern and his brand, but why wouldn't you, like, how do you just let that ride? If somebody said to me, I was really into sex at 11, I'm not asking like, oh, how does that affect your sex life now? I'm asking, how did you get into sex at 11? Like, there's a lot of things.
So do you think that's Howard Stern's fault or responsibility to have followed up on that?
Well, I think it's just the wrong format, period. Because at that point, to go into how it affects you now is totally inappropriate. Like an 11-year-old, first of all, anyone who knows anyone, and I know a few people who have become moms and dads at 12, 13 years old, that is abuse in some capacity. Someone has failed you horrifically. And the life expectancy and just the quality of life that someone experiences by having that introduction so early on is really, I mean, it's shocking. It's shocking.
It's
I know it. I know it intimately. So when we're having conversations about 11-year-olds being engaging in sexually explicit behaviors or watching sexually, we're not talking about like, oh, I was watching a movie and then I saw a scene, two people emulating sex. We're talking about people actually performing the acts of very expressive sex for an 11-year-old.
But it's like, it's just hard because it's in our culture, it's in our music, it's in our commercials. Like when a model takes a bite out of something and it's clearly
sexualized.
It's everywhere. So like 10-year-olds are looking like, this is the world as I'm seeing it at 10 with no context. So it's hard. Obviously the pornography is a hard stop, but like there's so many like soft stops where it's like, how do you not have your kid listen to certain music? It's just tough,
Well, I agree.
All of that. All of that.
Welcome back to DBL. So Brooke Shields recently revealed to Yahoo Life that she looks at sex differently now than she did in her 20s. Let's take a look.
Sex for me has really evolved. My 20s, I was always terrified of it because I was a virgin until I was 22. I thought I was committing an offense to, humanity for being a Catholic, not married, and I had so much guilt. And it wasn't until my 40s that I started thinking of sex as my experience, not someone else's experience that I just navigated.
I love this. Brooke, who is 56, looks fantastic, also said she wants her teen daughters to feel more in control of their own sexual experience. I love the way she phrased that. I don't know if we wrote that or she said that, but for a woman, and I know it comes from context, to feel like you own your sexual experience has not been easy for many generations, including Brooke Shields, who was, let's be honest, sexualized at like a zygote when she was in Blue Lagoon. Right. I mean, the Calvin Klein ads, let's be honest, she was really overtly sexualized and she didn't really know what was going on. So I like that she said this.
And that's the result.
Right.
That shame is the result of people assuming things about you based on, I mean, she was exploited.
Yes,
let's just call it what it is.
very much so, yeah.
But people is assuming all of these things about this. She went in the total opposite direction, and now that's shame. That's the idea of being. Well, I didn't become sexually active until later on. I was a good girl. Right. That's how I was raised that way. Mm-hmm. Like that was not sex was not something. When I met someone who was sexually free, like in college, I was like, "What are you doing? Like, your whole life will be over." Like I really thought that
a person that owns their sexual experience.
Yes, I was like, "Girl, no! Oh, wow. Like you got to cover that up." Like I really felt that way because that's how I was raised.
Wow.
It's so interesting we're having this conversation today. My girl and I yesterday were just talking about the concept of virginity. Yesterday, randomly after work, and just that it's like you lost it, like something that you lost, and now you're somehow ashamed. Whereas like somebody like me, that was never brought to me at all. Like there was a good or bad thing. It's just like you're a man, you go and sexual conquest. But I know for a fact young women have been raised so much differently. And it's a sadness, Erica and Tori, that it took her 40 years to be able to enjoy her 40 years.
To own something that is inherently hers.
It blows my mind. And that's why I'm so happy to see like younger women now understanding that there are things in place to make them feel terrible, and they can circumnavigate that and go around and be like, I know what you're doing. You're gaslighting me, trying to make me feel dirty.
Or even what you said,
for these natural feelings I'm having, and they're not having it.
The language you just said, like, I lost my virginity. I took your virginity.
Yeah.
It's never, I expressed my virginity. I know that sounds really hooey, hippy dippy, but your language matters. So you're totally right.
Just
in that.
I had my first sexual experience with this person.
Right.
And keep it moving.
Right. It's not a transaction in that way.
It's very strange how we look at it. But
wow.
Hopefully we get better.
I expressed my virginity. Sorry about that.
I don't think that's going to catch.
But here's something we don't talk about is by denying that we are expressing ourselves sexually, then we're also lacking the protection because you aren't going to be prepared for something that you aren't admitting that you're doing.
Very well said. Very well said.
You're going to sneak that in right at the end?
Yeah, really good.
Zinger.
We'll be right back. Leave on that one. That was good.
Is your credit
Some school districts are starting to mandate students get the COVID-19 vaccine. One group opposed to the vaccine mandate in San Diego schools posted this picture on Instagram that has almost 2,000 likes, claiming a district is using syringe icons next to students' names to track vaccination status. The group claims the system violates their rights under the Health Insurance Portability and Accountability Act of 1996, better known as HIPAA. So let's verify. Are school districts subject to HIPAA rules? Our sources are the U.S. Department of Health and Human Services and the Centers for Disease Control and Prevention. HIPAA is a federal law that protects a patient's sensitive health information from being shared without their knowledge. The CDC and HHS saying it only applies to 3 covered entities: healthcare providers, health plans, and clearinghouses, like billing companies. School districts are not on the list. In fact, HHS explicitly says, quote, the privacy rule will not provide protections to the immunization records maintained by a school because the school is not a HIPAA-covered entity. So it's false that school districts are subject to HIPAA rules, although some states and local governments may have their own privacy rules that limit the sharing of student immunization records. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
you might know him from the timeless hit, one of my fave, My Best Friend's Wedding, or one of his countless television roles on shows like the high-octane Prime Video action series Hannah. Earlier, we got to chat with actor Dermot Mulroney about the last season of Hannah. Take a look.
Dermot, let's jump right in. We want to know, who'd you pick to be your best friend today of your best friend wedding co-stars, Julia Roberts or Cameron Diaz?
No, that's not even fair. That's that's divisive thinking. I love them both. If you mean Cameron and Julia, try me. There's no way to answer.
I think that's answered by a true pro. True pro right there. I love it.
So what makes Julia's laugh so infectious to you?
Well, noted that Cameron has one also, so that answers the previous question in that
There you go.
Makes it further even more difficult to answer either of these. But it's a glorious thing when you see it on film. Each of them, or any actor's face that breaks like that with such a beautiful authenticity.
What was it like training with your Hannah co-star Esme Creed Miles?
Well, here too, you're asking about a person I adore. She's incredible talent. I know we'll see wild and wonderful things from her. What you see in Hannah, I guess I'm just going to spoiler alert the whole series. We know it's coming to an end after this season. And in case people weren't watching, this is about a young woman and her path to embracing her own true identity. She's been manipulated by the institution, by the man that I play, who designed her whole, even her DNA has been manipulated. Her entire life, she's been told who to be. And so now that's no longer the case. Season 3, she starts as her own undercover agent from within this institution to tear it down. And she's assigned me. She shot me in the arm at the end of season 2. Now she's got me inside my own program as a spy who's now a mole. So it's really a fun series and a great character they gave me to work with this terrific, super talented young actress, Esme.
I love it. And Hannah looks like a super physically demanding show to work on. So how nerve-wracking is it to perform the stunts?
You do see my character come out from behind the desk where he spent much of season 2. The whole mess that he created in a moment of, an alcoholic and alcohol-induced blunder. That's what he was trying to protect his program from having been loose-lipped. So I don't know if anybody can relate to that, but I can. And so now he's trying to clean up his mess, and the mission is on. So the program is to send out my charges, these young wolf DNA-enhanced female assassins, to go take out the future threats to the U.S. government. So that's the deal with Hannah 3. But it has deeper meaning. It's not hard to find in there, especially who tells who how to be anymore.
Absolutely. Dermot, it has been a pleasure. Professionalism, I love it. I love it.
Best description of a show I've ever heard. Yeah. Well, I'm here for it.
Too is because it's really dear to me, and the character that I got to play has more twists than I even described there. So enjoy it out there.
All right, well, thanks for chatting with DBL today. And for everyone at home, check out the third and final, very, very important season of Hannah, streaming right now on Prime Video. It's been a pleasure. We'll be right back.
Thanks, brother.
Thanks, my pleasure.
Promotional consideration is brought to you by
Omicron being named a variant of concern. Health officials are encouraging people to get vaccinated and boosted against COVID-19. As cold and flu season ramps up, recent online searches show some people are wondering if they can still get their vaccine shots if they're experiencing cold symptoms. So let's verify. Is it safe to get the COVID-19 vaccine or booster if you have a cold? Our sources are the CDC, the White House, Dr. Katrina Miller-Parrish, a family physician at LA Care Health Plan, and Dr. William Schaffner at the Vanderbilt University School of Medicine.
If you have mild symptoms of a cold and are just feeling a little bit out of sorts, it's perfectly fine to go ahead and get your influenza vaccination or your COVID vaccination, whether it's your first dose or your third, it doesn't matter. Go ahead, get that vaccine.
However, if your symptoms are severe, like a fever over 100 degrees, Dr. Parrish tells Verify it's best to wait it out a bit.
There are two main times when you should not go get the vaccine. If you are so sick that you can barely get out the door, probably not a good time to be going out in public and probably not a good time to get the vaccine.
She says the other main time is if you have COVID-19 or have been exposed to it. Then she recommends staying home to minimize contact with others. So it's true. You can still get the COVID-19 vaccine or booster if you have cold symptoms, as long as they're mild. With your Verify, I'm Brandon Lewis.
I was looking over some chickens, and I see these big poof bags. This means these bags were left without refrigeration.
This TikTok video with nearly 2 million likes claims frozen chicken in puffed up bags is spoiled. The viral post has spread to Twitter, where users claim that puffed up bags can be attributed to the meat deteriorating and releasing gas. So let's verify. Does frozen chicken in puffed up packaging mean the meat is spoiled? Our sources are Purdue Foods, the National Chicken Council, and the United States Department of Agriculture. The woman in the viral video is standing next to a bag of Purdue chicken. The company sells its chicken in a variety of packaging, including frozen in bags. Packaging methods for meat and poultry must be approved by the United States Department of Agriculture. According to Purdue, the puffiness of the bag is a USDA-approved packing method that pumps ambient air into the bag before sealing it. In an email to Verify, a spokesperson for the company explained that the puffiness of the bags actually indicates the packaging is properly sealed. The National Chicken Council agreed that the frozen chicken packaging seen in the video is a USDA-approved process with no food safety concern. According to the USDA, a consumer can tell if chicken is spoiled by looking for changes in the poultry's smell, taste, or texture. It says meat or poultry may turn a dark color, smell badly, and become slimy due to spoilage bacteria. It does not say anything about the packaging as an indicator of spoilage. So we can verify, no. A puffed up bag of frozen chicken doesn't mean the poultry is spoiled. With your Verify, I'm Ariande Till.
Welcome back. If you're hoping to avoid the holiday weight gain this season, listen up. We're chatting about it on DBL's Focus on Fitness, presented by QB. So exercise snacking. It's a perfect way to ensure you fit enough exercise into your busy holiday schedule. This means you're going to do short bursts of the exercise 2 or 3 times a day. So like 5 minutes of squats while cooking or jumping jacks in between wrapping presents. QB is another great way to get in some quick exercise. Try their under-desk elliptical at home. Call 1-800-556-2089 or visit QB.com to learn more. I like that idea.
Yeah, just little short bursts. Yeah.
Short bursts. That's all I got anyway. DBL's New Everyday. We'll be back tomorrow. Bye, guys. Thanks for watching.